Cheese. It's so good. People have been eating it for millennia. And what I want to talk about today is what happened when cheese met the Industrial Revolution in a little town called Rome, New York. And before I get into it, I want to thank the Oneida County History Center and Rome Historical Society for helping me with the information regarding cheese. A beloved staple in many cultures around the world for millennia. And of course, early America is no different. Families would tend to their cows, churn butter, and craft cheese by hand on their humble farms. The reason they did this is because cheese has benefits. All right, you got to remember, this is before the age of refrigeration, where milk would quickly spoil. And it was a serious problem for farmers. Making cheese was a solution because it not only preserved the milk, but it also created a tasty product. People did it all over the state of New York, and Rome was no exception. However, in the mid-1800s, Rome would find itself in the midst of a dairy revolution. That's because a local farmer named Jesse Williams established the very first cheese factory in the U.S. Not a cheesecake factory, literally a cheese factory. He grew up in New York, hailing from a family of farmers, and he developed a deep understanding of agricultural practices. And he saw issues in the dairy industry, specifically the inconsistency of cheese. The man had standards. And so he, along with his wife, would embark on a journey to basically go around and learn about cheese production. They went all over the region and gathered all the knowledge they could from farmers in the field. By the time Jesse returned to his farm, he was armed with a newfound expertise, and he implemented some of the techniques that he learned to make some top-notch cheese. And word got around because this stuff was delicious, and demand for it quickly outpaced the supply. He wanted to expand his operation, and at the same time involve his son George. So he came up with this idea of establishing a factory in 1851 and developed machinery to streamline the cheese-making process. This was a big deal because it was a shift from the traditional way of making cheese, usually it was an individual farmer, to a more industrialized process, a cooperative method whereby milk from numerous farmers would be consolidated and made into cheese at his factory. It was the first of its kind in the nation, and it had all the latest tech. Situated at Highland Mills, near where the fish hatchery is today in Rome, which had the Black River Canal right there, and hence product was connected to the Erie Canal. And he had a good thing going. With dozens of local farmers delivering their milk to his factory from hundreds of cows, in the first year alone, there was 100,000 pounds of cheese produced. News of Williams' approach spread like wildfire, and so farmers from all over the place would come to Rome eager to learn from the master himself. And he was real generous with his knowledge. He would share his expertise. He didn't even put patents on his machinery. And this generosity helped to foster the proliferation of cheese factories across the state and beyond. Within a few years, dozens of similar factories sprung up. And by 1864, there were over 500 cheese factories in New York State alone. That year, Jesse Williams played a key role in the formation of the New York State Cheesemakers Association in Rome, and this would later evolve into the American Dairy Association. Unfortunately, 1864 was also the year that he passed away at the age of 67. His contributions would continue to evolve, however, and they extended far beyond Rome. The Mohawk Valley became a hub of cheese production, with markets and equipment manufacturing to boot. Factories would spread across the country and even go as far as Europe. which in effect would supply global markets with a diverse range of types, cheddar being a notable favorite. And all of the effects of Jesse Williams' factory didn't just fill bellies, even though it did that plenty. There are interesting side effects, like helping to transform home life, especially for women, since they no longer had to make cheese every day. And while all of this was happening, in the academic circles of Hamilton College, Professor Xerxes Willard championed higher standards in cheese production, and he helped to elevate the reputation of New York State cheese, and it sort of became a benchmark for cheese quality across the world. It was the heyday of cheese in New York, but it wasn't to last. Wisconsin would emerge as a new center for cheese production, and New York not so much. Despite this, the legacy of pioneers like Jesse Williams and Xerxes Willard endures. Their contributions not only laid the foundation for American cheese making, but also showcased the ingenuity that defined early America. 100 years after the first factory, Rome and the cheese-making industry paid tribute. Dairymen and women from all corners of the nation congregated to honor Jesse Williams. And none other than the president of Kraft Foods asked the crowd, where would our nation be had not pioneers such as Williams dared to do things differently? So the next time you're enjoying a slice of cheese, try to think about pioneers like Jesse Williams, who paved the way for a tradition that enriches our lives to this day. Have a good one.